This week, we are trying to welcome in spring a little bit more, right? I get it's on the horizon. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. We got some snow this morning, but I am feeling that it's on its way. And so we might as well get ready with some fun spring projects, right? So that's what we're focusing on this week. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to do a little bit different take on my 3 at 3 today when I was trying to, so each of us kind of decides what we want to share. We have kind of a theme we go with, and then we each decide on a theme for our own individual day to go along with the main theme, right? So I was thinking about spring, and of course, to me, I'm thinking flowers and starting gardens and bees and butterflies and all of the above, right? And so I have this new love. Well, it's actually been with me for a while. But I'm reminded of it when I pass this certain fabric bundle. So I'm going to show you the fabric bundle. Here we go. And it's this one. Do you guys know what the quilting term for prints like this would be? Because there is a term for it. Anyone have any idea what the prints, when we see an assortment like this, what would that be called? I'm just smitten with this bundle, and I wanted to make a project out of it. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Yes, if you guessed low volume, you are absolutely correct. These are called low volume prints. Yes, good job, guys. So what exactly is low volume? It's kind of a term. It's been around for a few years now, right? Low volume's always been around, but I will say in the quilting world, low volume probably made its like big peak, maybe, I don't know, maybe 3-ish years ago or so, but it hasn't gone away yet. And I love it for so many reasons. And so, but one of the questions I get asked oftentimes is, what constitutes a low volume print? So what I thought I would do today is I'm going to share with you some of the principles of what a low volume print is. And then I made a really fun project this weekend. Yes, can you believe it? I actually sewed something this weekend and quilted it and bound it and wrote a pattern, by the way, this weekend. I know I have to pat myself on the back, right? Because I actually had a very enjoyable time in my sewing room making this. So I'm going to share that with you as well. But before I do, let's talk about what is low volume. So Lori said neutrals. Okay, so yes, that would be something that would constitute kind of a low volume print. So I put together a few thoughts on this. All right. So if you're taking notes on these things, here you go. Low volume fabrics are usually neutral, light colored prints used in an all over pattern. Okay, let's take a look at some examples here. I love this one. Can you see that? It's a little flamingo. Are you kidding me? How cute is that? But this is also considered a low volume print. Okay, again, a design all over. Here's some butterflies. And this is what inspired me to do my project that I'm going to show you in a minute. Here's a low volume print. Ooh, let's look at another one. Look at these little bows. Yes, considered low volume. All right, so let's think about that for a minute. Neutral light colored prints used out in all over pattern. Here's some other thoughts on it. It's similar to designing a collage background. So collage quilts have been very popular as well recently, right? And so when you see collage prints, they're made up of lots of different patterns going on, but that still kind of blend into one another. So when you use low volume prints on projects, It does give the look of a collage background without necessarily having to have as many fabrics, if you will. Okay. Pat said small print. Absolutely. And Susan said lighter colors, not super busy. And Heidi said a print that blends into one. All really, really good comments, you guys. Keep them coming. Here's another thought. Value and intensity of color is what sets apart a low volume print. So when we're talking about value, we're talking about like the intensity level on a scale. If you were to go like a gray scale and you were to go from white to black and then there's colors in between, that is what would be considered value, is the intenseness of that color. But the value is not just black and white prints either. It can be value with even colors as well. Something to remember. So it's not necessarily always just grayscale. Common shades are whites, grays, tans, pastels, but even with dot stripes in other images. All right, let me take a look at some others. Take a look at this one. Kind of fun, right? So again, there's some color here, but it still blends into the background. Now, this is one that, oh, look at that one. Look at the little houses. How cute is that? Okay, now this is one that some might say, I don't know if that's low volume enough. Well, it's all on your perspective, right? Okay, some would consider this to be low volume. I would say this is kind of maybe along a line of like, could it be, but maybe the colors are a little too contrast, black and white. But it doesn't mean it's a bad print, and I still used it in my project. Low volume prints are neutral enough to be considered a background. Okay, so another thought to think about. To think of it as a background so that when you look at it, it's almost like, I don't know, it's kind of, it can be like a tone on tone, which can sometimes read as a solid, but there's a little more depth, I would say, to low volume prints. I'm going to show you some examples here in just a minute. The easiest way, this is my final thought on this before I show you some pictures. The easiest way to incorporate them into your project is to start making substitutions with solid background prints. So oftentimes we are just like, we have a let's say a white solid, you know, we just go for the solid. It's quick, easy, don't have to think about it much, and beautiful, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are trying to get more depth and interest into your quilts, consider bringing in more low volume prints and then adding them in where solids would normally be. Okay. And then what you've done is you've created this illusion of a collage background. All right. So let me take a look at your thoughts here. Before I show you some pictures. So Lynn said more muted and blends in, definitely. Marianne said it looks like a faded fabric, so it could have color, but it's very faded. Yeah, good point. Good point. It could have some color, but it still looks a little muted. Again, a little bit more in the background. Luana says calm. That's what tells her that it's a low volume. I like that. And Sable's kind of the same thing. Nothing screams at you. Janine says it's more like a tone on tone, and Karen said subtle prints. I love that. So very, very good. Okay. I love your comments, guys. Keep them coming. Hey, Larry, we're talking low volume prints today. Oh, I like that, Elisa. It doesn't call attention to itself. I love that. You know what we will allow the color, what we will allow the attention to be drawn to is the color, right? So if you keep low volume prints in the background, okay, even with a little bit of color, They really are going to blend one into the other. And these can be creams, they can be whites, they can be grays, just kind of these neutrals. I love the flamingos. Are you kidding me here? So don't feel like, oh, wait a minute, I can't take white and put it next to a cream, right? No, 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 no. It's all good. Yep, Linda says it gives you a place to let your eyes rest. And that's usually what, like, a solid will definitely let it rest. If you want it to rest but still give interest, that's where the low volume prints come in, right? Lori, that's interesting. She said it kind of looks like a solid until you get up close. And then you go, ooh, there's something else about that. I like that. And Laura said she started liking low volumes when she did Jenny's collage class. Exactly, which is, I think that's when I started getting into collage quilting was more so when I started getting into low volume prints, for sure. Absolutely. So Larry said low volume is the modern shirtings. Lots of options in both modern and traditional quilts. Very good point, Larry. You know, we've seen when you say low volume, it's kind of a term that, you know, we've created in the last several years. But when you go back into more of those prints that that are more traditional, they've been around forever. But like he said, there's more like shirting fabrics, right? So I love that. But now it just provides a little bit more color and more different, unique pieces like flamingos or bows, right? Kind of fun. So that's what this is all made up of. So I'm going to wait to show you my project here in just a couple minutes. But before we do, I'm going to share with you some pictures I found on the web. So if you look up low volume prints, you're going to see lots of really fun stuff. So you see, I thought this was fun. Again, a great way to use your scraps with just pops of color. This, I think, is one of my favorites I've seen. I love flying geese, first of all, but look at how much interest that gives. And I think Nancy said it exactly right. She said, provides a little movement and interest to the background, which is so true, right? And when you look at this, if you were just to do a solid white background, this quilt wouldn't be nearly as beautiful, I don't think, and Lonnie's correct as well. It just gives a little more interest in using a solid. But look at how scrappy and fun that is when this gal used the low volumes in her background. I just love this quilt. Here's another one I found. Again, look, these aren't necessarily grayscale either, are they? You're seeing some really light yellows and blues all in different prints in the background, but the colors is what makes it pop, but it still gives so much visual interest here. Here's another one I found. Again, and the thing is, when I look at this, I go, you know what? Let's take, for example, I'm looking at like that chevron. Do you see that kind of that gray chevron? You see it scattered throughout the quilt. So it's kind of balanced out. Now, I think when doing a background, it's always best to have a huge variety of low volumes, right? That you put together, but you have some pieces that totally grab your eye and it's balanced out. It's not all in one place, right? It's just kind of balanced out amongst the quilt that still keeps it cohesive, but is so interesting to look at. And here's another one. I'm a huge fan of the plus quilts. Love the plus quilts. And really, it's the pops of color that make it stand out. And then here's one final block that I just found. Again, You could have had a solid as your log cabin in the background, but it's so much more interesting to look at when you have the low volumes. What do you guys think? Do you find that to be the same? Am I crazy? You guys, you know what I'm saying, right? Larry said that's a long-legged strippy star. Let me bring that up again. I know, isn't it cool, Larry? I love it. Let me show that again. This one. I love that. That's just cool looking. So anyway, kind of fun. All right. What other questions do you have about low volume? Let me bring this up. Number 2. Okay. You're right, Lynn. I absolutely agree. She said, I think it depends on the quilt itself. Very, very true. I mean, obviously, if you're going for something a little more formal, are you going to go with low volumes? Probably not. Low volumes definitely give more of a look of whimsy, if you will, eclectic. So if it's something that's more traditional or more formal, then yeah, you are definitely going to keep with the solid. So it just kind of depends on, you know, what is it you're trying to do? What is it you're trying to accomplish, right? Oh yes, Heidi. She said, I think of the QuiltCon quilts, Johnny B show. Did you guys love those quilts? You know, I am not as modern as some of the quilts that we saw on there. But even with that being said, I can appreciate it so much. Those quilts that he showed on QuiltCon, unbelievable, amazing, right? And so I thought it was really interesting. If you didn't get a chance to watch his lives, it's not too late. You can go back on our Facebook page and just go through them. It's so intriguing to watch because it just makes you feel like you were right there and you didn't have to go to Phoenix, although I'd gladly take a trip to Phoenix right now. But it was really cool, the reports he gave. I loved it. Christy said, I'm so glad that Johnny shared so many quilts with us. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. Please, and Alice loves the modern quilts. Interesting. Terry said, I don't like the newspaper print, but I've seen some really nice ones with right major prints or blocks. Yeah. You know, oftentimes, Terry, the like newspaper print, fonts will be in low volume prints. Definitely something that you see a lot of. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. Marianne said, when you're trying to age your quilt, you can use low volume fabrics. I would have never thought about that. If you think about it, though, as I'm thinking while you say that, see, I would love to be just in a room with all of us, like discussing these things. This is the next closest thing we have because I always, this stuff fascinates me. I'm a little passionate about fabric, right? If you can't tell. But you're right, Marianne. And maybe the reason for that is because when the people who came before us quilted, we still do this somewhat, but not as much as it used to be. Quilting used to come out of necessity, right? So people used what they had. So if they had a leftover fabric from another project, they were using their clothing, they were using bedding, anything like that, right? Then they would use all of their scraps. And so, yeah, in a sense, it does give us the look of something that's a little bit older. Interesting. I never thought about that. Never thought about that. Okay. Yep. Oh, so interesting. I love it. Okay, you guys ready for the project I did? And I'm going to show you a couple things on how to make this. I hope you like it. But again, I was inspired by this guy and said, I want to make a quilt with it. And so this is called Butterfly Garden. And This celebrates spring for me. Oh, ta-da. Nope. Let's try that again, Kris. Ta-da. There we go. Here is my newest project. So this ends up being about 28 by 28 inches. So it would be a great table topper or even a wall hanging. But take a look at the background. Do you see how all of those prints are different? And so it just gives this really unique look. Now, another fun thing I did here was I chopped off a corner of each one, added in a pop of color, and to have them resemble little butterflies. So I've got little butterflies floating in the wind without screaming butterfly. If you want it to scream butterfly, you could put some little antennas in there. But I didn't want it to scream butterfly. And again, see all of those low volume prints. Again, if I were to make it a white solid background, it would be okay, right? It would still be all right. But I think it's the low volume print background that makes the colors pop so much and adds some visual interest to this. And then I'm just a huge fan of binding. And yes, I did it by hand, folks. I love doing it by hand. Okay, so there you go. You can get an up close look at that. So how did I make these? Here we go. So I got little squares of color. Those are my pops. So what I'm going to show you is how I did butterflies. Okay, so we'll come down here and I'm going to choose a print. Let's choose a print that maybe you could see a little bit better there. And I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to put the color on one, and I can do a couple things here. We're going to do a snowball block, so I can either draw a line on it from corner to corner and stitch on the line. And then it's going to fold back on top of itself. All right. So I'm going to come over here to the sewing machine real quick and do that. Where did my foot control go? Hold on just a second. Here we go. Okay, so let's see. Needle in the center position and sewing right here. If you know me, you know I just like to take a little titch off the side of the line. I sew just off of the side, and then that way it goes all the way back. So I'll finger press that. And let me do another one. This time I'm taking another red print. And this is what also adds to the scrappiness. See, this was my first red print. Now I'm going to take a print that looks like this and do the same thing. Just sew it on one of the corners. It doesn't matter which corner it is. And then pull that back on top of itself. Okay, so I'm going to press that real quick. And they look like this. I mean, how simple is that, right? Now, I'll come down here and trim away to 1/4 inch past the seam line to cut out the background. So then when I put this together, I'm going to grab another low volume print here. I'm going to make a 4 patch. These will go opposite of each other. And ta-da, I've got a butterfly, folks. I mean, wasn't that easy? So simple. So that's all there is to it. I'm going to sew these two together and these two together and then bring this down together as a 4-patch. Isn't that fun? So I was doing that, and then I'm like, oh, look at those yellows. How fun would it be to make a little yellow butterfly? And oh, look at those oranges. Again, we all have these little tiny scraps, right? And then I have these little low volume prints. Way fun. Now, you could do little butterflies, but how cute would it be just to do a whole bunch of these? You know, just have these little pops of color. If I were to sew this one, let me pretend that that's sewn. There we go. And I could have another one. Let me put this one. We're going to pretend that these are sewn on. I just created my little triangles here, because I think this would be a really fun little project too. If you didn't want to do butterflies, but hello, look at those butterflies. That's where I was inspired to do butterflies. I saw that print and I said, oh, butterflies it is. Makes me happy when skies are gray. Here we go. And because I think this would be a darling little table topper, or a whole quilt of this. And you have just these little pops of color that just come in, right? Or look at this. You could even, you have this, you can put two opposite of each other. Let me put this one. Oh, see, this is what's so fun about quilting, right? There's so many possibilities. Where did my other blue one go? Well, we'll just pretend here. Bring this one down and this one, and we'll pretend that that's blue. Or I guess it doesn't have to be. Okay. So you could have something like a little butterfly here. Now, another thing you could do, what if you took this and you did something like this? Now that's cute. I don't know how well you can see that. And you make these little like hourglass blocks. Let me see if I can get up closer here. You make these little hourglass blocks in the middle, and you make a whole quilt of these little tiny hourglass blocks simply by taking off a corner. There's just so many possibilities here. So many possibilities. So, oh, bow ties, that's cute. How about putting in kites? You bet. Susan said her scrap stash is going to love this. Oh my goodness. You guys, so many fun things. You're going to have a hard time deciding which one you want to do. But that's simply by just cutting off a corner. That's it. No big deal. Cut off that corner. Boom. Right? So anyway, and again, that's how this came to be. There we go. Just little butterflies. That's it. Now, let me see. Is there anything else I need to answer? Oh, you guys are so sweet. Great. Oh, yeah, Marcia. Great use for the charm packs. Definitely. Yes, you could add applique shapes to the yo-yos. Yes, Terry, absolutely. Yay, Vicky said, I'm new to the quilting world and I love this. Thank you, Vicky, and welcome to the quilting world. So fun. Yes, we do have a pattern. I'll share that with you and share in just a minute. Now, before we do though, I want to share something else. Okay, if you don't machine embroider, it's okay. Hold tight for just a minute. But what I want to show you, I don't know how well you can see, but you guys, do you know what I did last night? Yes, I did. I embroidered butterflies on this using the clear blue tiles from Kimberbell. There's a butterfly right there. There's a butterfly right there. So cute. You guys, seriously, I called Kim last night and I said, Kim, I love the clear blue tiles. I'm just telling you. I just love them. They're so much fun. The fact that I could take a project from start to finish. I literally did this yesterday. I drew up my design during church. Shh. Don't tell. I did this. And I was able to do the quilting on my embroidery machine. Someone asked me to show the back. You probably can't see it very well because it's green. Gingham. Guys, seriously. I told Kim, I said, you guys keep coming out with those designs because it's amazing. So, but I want to show you something that's really important for those of you who do clear blue tiles. Okay, come down here with me. So, as you know, with clear blue tiles, you're planning out your quilt. And I wanted to illustrate this to all of you today because I think it's really important to see that, yes, I did it with appliques and I quilted around my appliques. I did not quilt through them with this. Now, I went back afterwards and I quilted on my own. I just did free motion quilting on my sewing machine and just went around the petals. But I did not use my clear blue tiles. What I want to show is that because I planned this out, I was able, remember, these are like stamps, guys. These are like stamps. So wherever you see the blue tile is where the stamp goes. So it was like, okay, well, if that's a stamp, then I'm going to put it right here. And I did my little markings and then I moved it over to here and then I moved it over to here, right? No big deal. But it got to be around here. And of course, like I said, I didn't want to go around it. But guess what else I had? I had these babies. Look what I was able to do. I was able to put them right where I wanted them. Look at this little guy. Yep. Look, I put it, boom, right there. The little butterfly. I've got a butterfly right there because I could put this right there. I put the butterfly right here in between. Because when you think of it like a stamp, it makes it so easy to understand. I put my biggest hoop on, even with this, because then I was just able to go from one area to the next. I just moved my needle over to the next position. I didn't have to rehoop. You know, I put a butterfly here. I put a butterfly down here. I used, let's see, I used this one right here, the 2x4. I used the 2x4 right here. And what this allowed me to do on this side, I was able to use the 4x14. And I put it right there, right beside here. But then I was able to take my 2x2 and put it right there. Isn't that so cool, you guys? So the fact that I could visually do this all at once was absolutely like the most fun I've had with quilting a project because I was able to visually see it. And then, like I said, there were, I wanted to just go over with free motion. I just did some little doodle applique loops with the same color thread. You know, did my like doodle applique on my leaves over and over and over. And this looks like I went and had it professionally done, but it was able to do it from start to finish on my own home machine. Now, how cool is that? So that's it. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. All right. Oh, and I used the butterflies, the butterfly design. You can find it on kimberbell.com. So, all right. Yay! Patty said clear blue tiles have expanded my quilting world. I recently quilted a table runner, working around the applique blocks and playing with the tiles. Yeah. So don't be fretful that you have applique blocks on there. Like, it's okay. Just go around it. No problem at all. Can I show up close the leaves? You betcha. Okay. Does that help? I don't know how good the lighting is in here. There we go. See, just doodle applique. I just went around and around and around with green thread. That's it. I did a blanket stitch on my machine around the appliques, and then I just went around and around. And along the stem, I just did just curves, like waves going down. But doesn't the low volumes just create so much interest there? It's so fun. This was such a fun project to make. Okay. Ooh, yes, Kris Spencer. You want a demo using the magnetic hoops? Your wish is my command, my friend, because I actually did a video the other night showing what I did to use my magnetic hoops. Life-changing. No, I'm not being dramatic. You're life-changing. I'll post that very soon, Kris. I need to do some editing on it, but I will do that very soon, because using the magnetic hoop, I never had to take it off the machine the whole time while I quilted that whole thing. Didn't have to take it off the machine and didn't have to try and do this. So cool. Okay, Bobby, the size of this quilt ends up being 28 by 28 inches. Hey, Johnny. Johnny B is in the house. Woo woo. By the way, Johnny B is going to be my special guest on Wednesday night's live sale. It's Wednesday, so you don't want to miss out on that. All right, guys. Well, I hope you learned something new today. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you've thought maybe a little differently about low volume prints, what makes a low volume print, what counts as a low volume print, how to use them, how to not be afraid of them. And I hope you learned something new about all the fun things you can do with little triangles. Hopefully, at the end of the day, I just want you to be inspired, and I want you to play on your sewing machine, play on your embroidery machine, and have fun, because those are the things that just bring us so much joy as we create something very special in the comforts of our own home. It's just awesome.